Ow. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 4, Himatsubushi. It's me, Mega Punchy. How you doing? It's late. I haven't done a late Higurashi in a long time. I used to do it, wait till it's really dark, lights off and everything, back when, the first chapter. If you still haven't watched the first chapter, go do it. Don't know what's stopping you. It's good. Just trust me. Yeah, it's late. I've been trying to, start picking up doing things, into good habits again. And it's late. I got work tomorrow. But I'm not gonna let another day go without recording, at least recording Higurashi. I wish I had time to edit it today, and maybe, well, we'll see. But at least I want to get something done. Anyway, let's get back to, I believe, the end of chapter 3. Last time we had last time we had that weird choice thing that you guys said. If I go back, you guys said if I go back, then it might shed a light on a couple of things, and I totally just picked the wrong thing, I believe. Yeah, completely wrong thing. Okay, choose the same background. What's in the box? I forgot I had that kind of creepy background music. Alright, last time we opened the red box, so let's open the blue box. Have you thought about it? In the end, you chose this color, didn't you? As soon as you choose, the other box disappeared. So you can give up on the contents of that one, okay? That's the rule. Now open up the box you chose. Inside the box there was a stick of chewing gum. Right now you're thinking, that's it? That's right. The contents of the red box and blue box were a piece of caramel and a stick of chew. Wait a minute, how come it told me both now? Did I miss that? I might have missed it last time. This is a little different. I think, because everyone has their personal preferences. If you prefer caramel to gum, for example, you're definitely thinking of choosing to open the box again based on that preference. The clear choices you wanted were basically this: the selfish desire to open up both boxes to compare the contents and pick the one most suited for you. I'm still creeped out. Now, because it knows, right? It seems like it knows. Ugh, but you see, reality is the same as this game. I'm just gonna kind of look away while I read this. If you pick one, the one you didn't choose disappears, so there's no way you could check the result. If at that time, if you had done this, or perhaps if you'd done that, then it would be hard to imagine that you could be happier, or perhaps less happy, than you are right now. In the end, you only have the pleasure of approving of or being disappointed by the choice that you did make. But that's fine. After all, didn't you enjoy the thrill of making the choice? If like now you knew the contents of both boxes, then the choice between the red box and the blue box would just be a waste of time. Because instead of the boring game about boxes, you could be looking at this quick. No. Oh, okay. No, I thought something was gonna change. Looking at the quickly changing evening summer sky, listening for the distant sound of thunder, and pondering if it's going to rain or not. That would be much more fun. Oh, disappeared, not looking. Okay. I don't know if it's, games like Five Nights and stuff, that I just expect jump scares. Which are, don't get me wrong, I still get scared by these things, but in something like Higurashi, when those really creepy ones come up and really take a hold of me, really surprise me, because it's not something I'm expecting. I had a restless night's sleep. I did nothing but turn over repeatedly during a night that seemed like it lasted for eternity. Even then, I eventually fell asleep at some point, not realizing how high in the sky the sun had risen. I shook off the urge to go back to sleep. It was then that I noticed that the phone was ringing. The time was almost 10:30 in the morning. It was clearly too late for a wake-up call. Akasaka-san, good morning, it's Ooishi. No. Waking up to the sound of Ooishi's voice was a little too much of a shock. My delicate ears were ringing. But thanks to that shock, I was suddenly wide awake. Hello? Good morning. Could it be you just woke up? Even though you're on assignment, it's still not good to be asleep during regular business hours. You're absolutely right. I'll be more careful in the future. I have another tidbit that might wake you up even more. There was something interesting mixed in with the lost and found at the Hinamizawa police box. Lost and found? Let's leave the details for when you get here. You think you'll be able to make it before noon? No, I'll be there right away. Ooishi already knew what my mission was. Since Ooishi said it was something that would wake me up, it was hard to believe that it would be relevant to me. Honestly speaking, judging by the information from Sato-san yesterday, knowing that my cover was already blown, I couldn't wander to and from Hinamizawa carelessly. In other words, my investigation was at an impasse. If there was some information there that could put me back on the trail, that would be nothing less than a stroke of good fortune. Yeah, Akasaka-kun. He's already so far gone, it seems like, but somehow he survives all this, right? After vigorously washing my face, I pulled on my jacket and hailed a taxi, heading towards the Okinomiya police station. Oh, you're here. The genius mahjong player has arrived. My apologies for being late. So, exactly what popped up? With absolutely no intention of reminiscing about last night's mahjong game, I pressed him to get to the point. Ooishi, anticipating that I would act that way, cut to the chase without any resistance. Like I said earlier, something arrived with the Hinamizawa police boxes lost and found this morning. Lost items that were turned over to the police box were sent to Okinomiya Station after the paperwork was filled out. Ooishi pulled out a plastic bag from a drawer and laid its labeled contents on the desk. Is that a wallet? Indeed. There was small change inside, but no bills. We thought that a pickpocket threw it away after pulling out the contents. At first. I didn't understand how this wallet, so far removed from Tokyo, could possibly be related to the kidnapping. If it had drawn Ooishi's attention, it would have to be something dramatic, like if the wallet belonged to the missing grandchild. That would be absurd, like something that convenient would happen. If that was it, then there were probably initials written on the wallet, like the initials of Toshiki Inugai, the minister's grandson, T.I. Thinking like that, at this point, I didn't suppose that this wallet was something that could get Ooishi so excited. Ooishi, after putting on a pair of disposable plastic gloves, handed me a pair of the same. I didn't feel that this wallet was such an important thing, so I had my doubts about whether there was any point in putting on gloves. However, I didn't want Ooishi's intentions to go to waste, so I put them on. Ooishi opened up the plastic bag and pulled it out, showing me the back. As I had imagined, there were initials engraved there, but it was slightly more detailed than what I had thought, with Toshiki I marked on it. Ooishi grinned at me with a look on his face that said, "See? We can't confirm from that this belongs to the minister's grandson," I informed him calmly. This wallet was relevant. It was something more than Ooishi's over-eagerness. First of all, there was absolutely no way in this distant locale that the missing grandson's wallet would be found with such convenient timing. After all, The Onigofuchi Defense Alliance wasn't related to the case in the first place. So there was no way this wallet belonged to the grandson. Why I wanted to decide that was the case, even though I didn't really know. Even though what should have been a top secret case was leaked before I'd even been dispatched. In this situation, how could I say this was definitely unrelated? Would it be more prudent to pay more attention to this wallet? It had only been a couple of days since I had arrived in Hinazawa, but in those couple of days, due to the number of remarkable events, my nerves might have become just a little, frayed. Shaking my head slightly, I cleared it of unnecessary thoughts. Ooishi opened the wallet's zipper, revealing the contents. Inside was small change and a number of crumpled receipts. Ooishi, from that jumble, pulled out a folded card. Seeing that, my heart stopped for a moment. It was a card from a dental examination. The name, Toshiki Inogai, and the age, a perfect match. The dentist's location was in Tokyo. There was no need to explain any further. How far was it from Tokyo to Hinazawa? It was far enough that taking the bullet trains and cars would still take several hours. Why would a wallet with a dental examination card from Tokyo inside show up in Hinazawa? Could it belong to a tourist who came from Tokyo? Or maybe a villager on vacation to Tokyo just happened to pay a visit to the dentist? No. It had to have fallen into somebody's bag by accident. In my mind, I desperately struggled to find a possible excuse as to why this wallet didn't belong to Toshiki Inogai. It was as if it just wouldn't do for this wallet to belong to him. However, weeding out any possibility for error one by one, the haze surrounding the wallet in front of me faded, gradually letting it come into clear focus. See? I felt a shiver of electricity run up my spine. My pulse quickened, and a thin film of sweat began to coat my entire body. From Ooishi's point of view, I was probably slack-jawed and spaced out, with a slovenly look on my face. Did you get information from the dental office? That's your job, Akasaka-san. I didn't go that far. When did this wallet show up? The person who picked it up was a villager. They did so yesterday, it seems. Not that, I mean, when was this wallet dropped? It rained here last week, exactly 7 days ago. It doesn't look like the contents are water damaged, so the longest it could be would probably be 6 days. Does anybody else at the station have knowledge of the existence of this wallet? The officer first encountered it at the Hinazawa police box, and also the 2 or 3 people in charge of the lost and found. Other than that, it's just me and you. If it's involved in a classified case, it'd be better to talk about it, wouldn't it? I don't intend to wag my tongue. May I borrow a phone? Go ahead. Dial 0 to get an outside line. I dialed the phone number inscribed on the examination card. I could hear my pulse pounding inside my head. Could it possibly be something so absurd? The addresses on the receipts and cards inside the wallet were all from around the area where the grandson lived. The name on the examination card was also a match. The time we deduced that the wallet had been left behind also matched up with the timeline of the kidnapping. Of course, it was possible I could just laugh it off as a big pile of coincidences. There wasn't any strong evidence. Rather than all this circumstantial proof, the contents of the phone call I was about to make would have a much greater meaning. Hello, sorry to keep you waiting. This is the dental office. Hello, this is the police. I have a misplaced wallet here and I'm trying to get in contact with the owner. Would you be able to help me? Inside the wallet, there was an examination card from your office. Yes, the name is Toshiki Inugai. If I give you the number of the card, would you be able to look up the phone number? Yes, thank you. If you could. Still holding the receiver, I pulled out a notebook from my breast pocket with my free hand. I opened it to the page with the grandson's address and phone number recorded on it. Yes, hello. Yes, go ahead. I compared the phone number written in my notebook to the one that was being read out on the other end of the line. During that process, I spun around to look behind me uneasily. I locked eyes with Ooishi. Ooishi looked puzzled, wondering what the matter was. Why I would feel uneasy to look behind me? That was because the person on the other end of the line. Oh no, don't look. Okay. Was reading out the numbers as though doing so straight from my notebook. It seemed that HQ was in quite an uproar thanks to my report. No matter how many times the authenticity of the evidence I had linked to the grandson was called into question, I could only respond that it was the truth. When the lead investigator first picked up the phone, I was grilled about the evidence I'd found that was almost too good to be true, if I do say so myself. But after having doubt after doubt dispelled, he fell into silence. The receiver was finally handed over to the section chief. When he picked it up, the background thrum on the other end of the line disappeared, and I knew that it had gone completely silent. After asking the same questions about the wallet the lead investigator did, the chief quietly spoke his next words. Got it. We'll dispatch several people as reinforcements. They should be able to make it there by evening. Akasaka-kun, please continue with your investigation of the area. Get some information on the spot where the wallet was found. Kanu-san will select some people and head directly there. The fact that he was sending Kanu, the lead investigator, here meant that the chief had decided there was a possibility that the Onigafuji Defense Alliance were somehow implicit in their kidnapping. However, it felt as though until the lead investigator, whom he trusted, had verified the evidence with his own eyes, he was still going to be skeptical about it. How'd it go? It seems that HQ is sending reinforcements. Jeez, this is crazy background music of everyone rushing. I guess they finally got their lead, right? I was ordered to investigate the area. Where was the wallet dropped? Around Takatsudo, apparently. This is Okinomiya. All the way over here, this is Hinamazawa. Then even further upstream, way up around here, is Takatsudo. Ooishi explained where the wallet was found by pointing to the locations on the map on the wall. This place called Takatsudo was even more remote than Hinamazawa was. There's hardly anybody living in the area around Takatsudo. It was deserted a long time ago. It's littered with abandoned houses, so it's really quite desolate around there. Ooishi-san, could I ask you to guide me to Takatsudo? Yeah, I don't mind. You can't really get in and out of Hinamazawa as you please by yourself, after all. Of course, I'll have to make you wear a cap and mask again. That Ooishi had agreed to accompany me was very reassuring. If Sato-san's info was to be believed, my cover had been blown. I wasn't sure if the villagers had realized that the fresh meat dispatched from public safety was the tourist that had visited the village yesterday. In other words, me. But deciding that they hadn't noticed would have been overly optimistic. Yeah, it's just time to... Honestly, it's just time to... God, this music, it's so distracting, Jesus. Well, I guess like this part's okay, but it sounds like... the background of like a spooky... like a, I don't know, like an old spooky game. Kinda like it sounds like a Luigi's Mansion boss fight or something. Given a cursory thought, Takatsudo, where the wallet was found, couldn't be ruled out as a hiding spot for the kidnappers. The the Takatsudo area didn't have any residential buildings, nor was it alongside a highway. There wasn't a reason for even the locals to go out of their way to visit it. It was exactly what you would call a long-forgotten ghost town at the end of the road. You couldn't ask for a better place to hold a kidnapped grandson. Also, you couldn't get to Takatsudo without passing through Hinamazawa first. Those several conditions made the area all the more important. I couldn't brush it off any longer. There was no longer any doubt that the Onigafuji Defense Alliance, or somebody hired by them, were involved in the kidnapping. If that was the case, then the fact that this wallet was found might have already been leaked to them. They even knew so much as how the Public Safety Division was operating. The case of the wallet couldn't be something that they didn't know. In that case, there was a possibility that the enemy was lying in wait. To dive alone into enemy territory, surrounded by enemy territory, to say the least, required an amount of courage. Nay, a recklessness that I just did not have. Without your company, Ooishi-san, I wouldn't be able to step into the village so easily. Thank you very much for your cooperation. Honestly, I thought you would ask for more money. Well, if you're being honest, Hinamazawa isn't exactly a place I like to go to. I'd at least appreciate it if you paid for cab fare. Still, it's not a request I can refuse from a friend that's played at the same table as me. Oh jeez. This just makes me like on a more strange edge. Makes you feel weird. Ooishi grinned as he pounded me on the back. It struck me that he just didn't want to jump ship rather than having any sort of sense of duty towards the job. Even so, that didn't really matter. Right now, I really appreciated the gesture. Well then, shall we hurry up and get going? If the enemy knew that the police had obtained the wallet, then they would probably have moved the hostage to a different place. There wasn't a moment to lose. But Ooishi, without regard to the fact that we were about to head out, began to remove his jacket. What are you doing? Well, just a precaution. If you want me to poke the beehive to get your honey, I have to be rather well prepared, you see. Do you want to put one on too? What Ooishi pulled from the drawer below the desk was a stab-proof vest. Please say, hope to God he put one on, even if he lived, I don't know if he has any injuries or anything. His name was Toshiki Inugai, the grandson of the Minister of Construction, Inugai. There was only one reason for him being here. If you didn't include gym or art class, his grades were above average. That was the result of having private tutoring sessions twice a week. If you omitted the fact that he still couldn't do pull-ups, and like could I, there wasn't much else that would make him hate school. Of course, he understood full well that his grandfather was a cabinet minister. We also knew that not too many people were that interested in their relationship. He didn't like to go out of his way to bring up his grandfather, or to call him the Minister of Construction. And finally, he at least tried to know a little more about what kind of work the Minister of Construction did than your average Joe. What that entailed was that when you tried your best to make life better for the masses, sometimes you make a few enemies. He knew that all too well from the time he'd spent as class representative. His grandfather had many enemies. He knew that he might personally catch some of that fallout, so he had to be twice as cautious. He was taught that by his parents. That's why, the moment he was kidnapped, he instantly knew that this was one of those occasions. He understood that he wasn't being treated as Toshiki Inugai, the person, but rather Toshiki Inugai, the grandson of the Minister of Construction. That he wasn't personally at fault, but that this was the result of some unavoidable trouble with his grandfather's work. It made a little difference, but when he realized it wasn't because of anything he did, he was able to relax, if only a little. Of course, at first he was struck with terror befitting his age, wondering what was going to happen to him. But after a while of being tied up and only able to stay lying down, he began to ponder a great many things. First, he thought about the reason he was being abducted like this. He understood the answer to that easily. He was taken hostage to coerce his grandfather, the minister. There was no doubt about that. He didn't know exactly what the Minister of Construction did, but it was easy to imagine that there was much to be gained from threatening him. He respected his grandfather more than most. He earnestly believed that his own grandfather was within the top 20 of the most important people in Japan. That was exactly why he wouldn't forgive anybody who tried to threaten his beloved grandfather. More importantly, he wouldn't forgive anybody who would use him as a tool to threaten his grandfather. His grandfather was really busy and rarely had time to meet with relatives. That's why, with what little time he did manage to scrape together, he just dropped by unannounced. And as an apology for not being able to meet during New Year's or summer vacation, he doted on his grandson very, very much. The number of times Toshiki was looked upon with disregard just because his grandfather was a politician and a minister certainly weren't few. But he never thought even once that he wanted his grandfather to quit being a politician. Because it was his beloved grandfather, he wanted him to continue his career as long as possible from the bottom of his heart. However, Toshiki was now being held hostage, and his grandfather was being threatened. His grandfather, who called him the apple of his eye, was surely suffering. He might do anything to save his grandson. He might maybe even putting aside his ideology if it was required to save his grandson. He might cave into the culprit's demands if it meant saving his grandson. When Toshiki thought about that, an inexplicable anger welled up within him. In his current situation, he was unable to forgive the cowards who would make his beloved grandfather suffer by using such dastardly means. That feeling swelled up inside of him, displacing the fear. What he thought of first was something any boy would imagine. Get out of these bonds, beat up the bad guys, then hand them over to the police. Images of all the brave heroes from all the manga he had read passed through the back of his mind. In his imaginary scenario, he slipped his bonds easily, floating like a butterfly to evade his captors, then stinging like a bee to bring them all down. In the end, it was nothing more than his silly little fantasy, but with his vision obstructed and unable to see anything, it was something that he could get into more than any anime at the moment. In actuality, he was enjoying these little scenarios in his head for the long period of time he was tied up. His captors hadn't really done anything to him that they would feel sorry for. However, he eventually began to grow tired of his fantasies, and more realistic scenarios began to run through his head. It was then he realized none of them were a solution. Yes, he wanted to do something for his grandfather, who was being threatened. That he was being held here to inflict pain on his grandfather was a thing that he could least forgive, and also the most vexing. And then he noticed. There was a much simpler way he could save his grandfather without having to beat up his despicable captors. That was to remove himself as hostage from the hands of these villains. If he was to disappear from here, his captors would have nothing to threaten his grandfather with. The captors had restrained him, but they didn't treat him roughly, and they made sure he was fed well enough. Meaning at most, he's something more than the means for their threat. They weren't looking to bully or kill him out of spite. If he behaved, no ill would befall him. Realizing that gave him a strong sense of courage, and carrying his train of thought this far, he let it run its course to its natural conclusion. Right now, at this moment, Toshiki Inugai had decided to escape. His ears had been stuffed with a sponge-like material acting as makeshift earplugs. However, they didn't actually do much to block out any sound. He could overhear everything his captors were saying. Realizing that this was to his advantage, even when his captors spoke to him, he acted like he couldn't hear them due to the earplugs. His captors, thinking he couldn't hear their conversation, talked about all sorts of things without any reservations. Thanks to that, he's able to obtain various pieces of information. First off, this was in Tokyo. It seemed like this was quite a distance away, and on top of that, in the countryside, nestled deep in the mountains. It seemed that his captors were inconvenienced living out here, so he could deduce that this place was far removed from any sort of town. Finally, whenever they went out to buy food or other supplies, they would always take a car. The fact caused him some dismay, because he knew that the method he learned at school of running around blindly while shouting for help wouldn't work here. He paused his little mental escape scenario there. His ultimate goal was to find somebody who would help him. If somebody who fit that description wasn't close by, his chances of escaping successfully grew slim. A desolate, far-off land deep in the mountains, a place where you couldn't even go shopping without using a car. In this situation, escaping would be very difficult. He grew depressed, and after a little while, he returned to his original scenario. Imagining becoming a hero like in the manga he read, and beating down his captors, becoming his respite. However, as he played those delusions out in his head, his heart, hating to surrender, continued to search for a way to escape. And we will end it there. Man, so now we're from the view of Toshiki, whose wallet dropped. That's like too convenient. It's like how... I don't know, it's just... I mean, I guess it could be like a very coincidental and a very lucky clue about the grandson, but Toshiki. But I don't know, it makes sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to me that they would drop it like so that they could give a clue. Like, why would the Onigufuchi Defense Alliance want to give a clue? I mean, they are conniving, and more conniving than me, so I can't figure it out. It's just really odd, like, he didn't drop his wallet, right? Who dropped the wallet? And how does that fit into everything? But I'm glad we got to make some progress today, even now it's past 12. And I really need to get to sleep, so hopefully I'll get this edited tomorrow and uploaded it tomorrow night. So there won't be too much time in between my Higurashi episodes. I still have a lot of other things to edit too, so hopefully I can get to those at some point. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Good night, and bye-bye.